after my first conversation with Wesley Hamilton, I was left very inspired. I felt like I should be doing more. I could live life on a different level. And I wanted to interview him for my website, just to inspire other people who have disabilities and people who feel like they're not living to their full potential. So I'm very excited to be talking to you, Wesley. The first question I want to ask you is, how did you become paralyzed?
I was paralyzed by a gunshot wound to my abdomen, which was caused by just a domestic situation.
And what was the process of accepting that? What do you believe you're never going to walk again?
You know, it's not that I believe I will never walk again. I believe that you don't get to where you want to be without pushing yourself.
Mhm. So it
So as long as I push myself, maybe that day will come. But every day is just to push myself to get there.
so it's not something you necessarily focus on.
No, I don't focus on it. I'd rather just live life. But every day is to push myself to get back to that goal.
So when you found out that you would not walk again, what was your mental state? What was that time like?
I was in ICU after I got shot because I had caught pneumonia in the hospital. So it took about 3 weeks before I actually knew I was paralyzed. Um, I felt it when I got shot. I felt my legs go out because I asked someone to put my legs down and they said they are down.
They are down.
Um, once I woke up and after the gameplay, I felt from the doctors because it took about a week before they told me. They came in, touched different areas. You know, can you feel this? Can you feel that? It put me in a depressing mental state because it wasn't that you're telling me. You got me believing that in the morning I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna walk. So I was really depressed, but I thought I was gonna walk every morning I woke up until about 8 months down the line.
And so during that depression stage, I know you told me you had bed sores, you didn't get out of bed. How long were you in the hospital?
Um, I got out of rehab at least 3 months after my accident. I rushed back to work. I was working a full-time job, so it was 8 hours a day. I was 230 pounds and depressed. And I knew I had to work because that was the only way I could financially take care of my daughter. In that process, I ended up receiving my bed sore because I was depressed. I was selfish of my own body, so I didn't care about it. I really wasn't happy about being paralyzed. So I went back to the hospital at least, I say a year after my accident because the pressure sore wouldn't heal. It wouldn't heal. That turned into 2 years of bed rest that lasted. So for my first 3 years, I was really depressed, bed rest, pressure sores, the whole nine. And then still had to be a full-time father. It was very challenging.
I can only imagine. So what was the moment that you had the transition that you couldn't go on living life just being depressed, staying in the bed, not doing anything? And what was that moment like, and how did you make the transition to become who you are now?
It all started with nurses telling me I needed to eat protein to allow my body to heal faster. In that, I guess in that moment, it made me start looking more into research. I knew for a fact that I was not going to heal unless I did it myself. I couldn't drink those Ensure drinks, man. I couldn't do it. They were nasty. So I had to find another way.
Yeah.
I could get up for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so I took up a nutrition class at Johnson County Community College. So it was about an hour a day for a nutrition class. I learned how to learn diets. I learned about food. I learned about sugar. I learned everything that I needed to know to heal my body, lose the weight, and get healthy. Because all at that time I was thinking about just getting healthy. I couldn't let this sore. It had got so big, like the size of my fist on the back of my
really?
tailbone, that I couldn't let that hinder me from being a father. I was allowing people to take my daughter to school, take her to the park. Everything that broke me inside as a man laying in my bed because I had no other choice. So once I started the schooling and I, then it transitioned over to mal working out or cardio. It was really just cardio. I started to lose the weight. Once I started to lose the weight, I realized that life was getting better. It wasn't the best, but it was getting better. And that also gave me the sense that I wanted to, if I'm going through this, other people in my same positions going through the same exact thing. So if I can find a way out, then I might as well just spread the awareness and help them find a way out. So it went from helping myself to laying in that hospital bed trying to figure out how I can help others.
I think that's the key, and I think that's what, in my opinion, because doing this website, I met a lot of people who are thought provokers, influencers, motivational speakers, and a common thread with a lot of people that I've talked to, they have been interested in becoming famous, becoming rich, kind of making a name for themselves. And, that's not necessarily something I'm motivated by. But, following you on Facebook, on Instagram, and looking at your videos and the things that you say, you really have a care for helping other people. And I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's the key to success. I think that's why we're all here, to use our gifts and our talents to be of service to other people. So, with that being said, how do you measure your success?
I measure my success by being able to motivate others. I cannot get to where I want to be. I don't want to get to where I want to be by myself. I don't want, it's lonely at the top. So instead, I came from a little bit of nothing. And so I humble myself enough to appreciate anything that comes my way. And just the fact of being healthy, being strong, and being able to be a father full time without the help is enough for me. So as I continue to build myself to be better, I just want to allow other people to follow along and motivate them to get there too. Like, I don't want to see bright stars and shiny lights without someone else. That's me. Because what type of father would I be if I taught my daughter, to only do it for yourself? It's good to be a leader, but I can teach other people to lead as well. I don't need you to follow me. I want you to be next to me. And that's how I strive from what I want.
So you measure success by the impact you have on other people's lives and their actual lives changing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's how I measure it in myself as well. So now I'm assuming it's pretty easy to stay motivated for you. It's not hard at all. But when you decided to make that change, a lot of times I myself went through it, where you make a decision, you're going to make a change to live life better, and then things happen and you kind of get brought down again. How did you deal with those times where you knew you wanted to change and maybe, your mentality or your thought process just wasn't where it needed to be to continue in that walk? Because it's, a lot of people think things, it's one thing to think it, and then it's just another thing to actually do it and live it.
Well, I think for me, I thought about change 3 years. 3 years going through all the struggles I went through. So when I was ready to make it, there was no way I was going back. Times didn't get easy. It was even times that got a lot worse. But every morning I woke up with a smile because it was a new day. I was healthier. I was being a father, and that's all I needed. My daughter, she was smiling because she was with daddy. That's all I needed. And that's what kept me motivated. The only thing when I wake up in the morning, I'm motivated because there's a 7-year-old girl that I'm about to wake up as well. And we're going to push each other to strive for better. That's what I'm motivated by, and that's what keeps me going. It wasn't anything else. It was the fact of being a father, man.
Your daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
There's a young man I follow on Instagram. I don't know if you heard of him, but his name is King Nye.
No.
And he may be 10 or 11, but he started when he was 7, and he's a motivational speaker. He's written books. He's an international motivational speaker.
Wow.
And but he talks about perspective a lot, and how he's always careful to see, the glass half full instead of seeing it half empty. And so can you kind of talk about your perspective, just about your situation, and how instead of looking at, some of the things that you can't do, you focus on things that that you can do?
Truthfully, everything, being disabled and being called disabled, even by a medical physician, gave me a title. So for a long time, disabled was my title. And the only thing that I could think of being disabled was just the things that I've seen others. I've seen others that's disabled, and so that's how I adapted. Everything that I said I can't do, I challenged myself to say I can. And that's because for 3 years, I literally thought I couldn't do anything. I thought being in this chair, it was a title that went with it. It was disabled. I had to come up with the mentality that I'm disabled, but not really. And that was my perspective. Every time, I looked at myself like, you're disabled, or you're in a wheelchair. I would talk to myself sometimes, but then I would tell myself, but not really. People are going to put limits on me, and I have to show them that I live without them. So that's mine. It's just whatever I say I can't do, I challenge myself to say I can. And trust me, I say I can't a lot, but I'm gonna find a way to do it.
I saw a blog that you wrote on your blog in regards to how other people view people with disabilities. And you I felt like took us through just like a day in your life. You were going to the airport, different things. Is it hard for you to not let other people, how other people feel, or, what they think, not let that affect you?
It affected me a lot when I didn't accept being in a wheelchair. It took a long time to accept it. Now that I accept it, it's a part of me. Like, you walking, that's all you. So I'm in a wheelchair. This is all me. These are my legs. So if I'm rolling around in a public area and someone's staring at me, someone's looking at me, well, I'm gonna smile. I'm probably gonna roll up to them, tell them how you doing. Some people I just say have a nice day, but I don't let it affect me because it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore. If anything, I just try to hit them with something positive because I don't know their way of thinking. Sometimes people are staring at me because they have someone that they know, and they're wondering, like, how can this guy be rolling around so happy? I have a smile on my face everywhere I go. No, people's thoughts and ideas and anything, actions, it doesn't faze me. It doesn't affect me. If anything, I just try to hit them with some kindness.
And that's because you've accepted yourself.
Exactly. Oh, but when I didn't accept, I was mean.
You were mean?
I mean, I wasn't mean to people, but, if you looked at me, then I did feel depressed. It made me feel some type of way, and I would keep my head down. But now my head's up, and it's not going back down.
There's a quote that I like by Iyanla Vanzant, and she says, as long as you fight reality or don't accept reality, you're going to suffer. So whatever the reality of your situation is, you have to accept it, whether it may be, you know, if you're in a wheelchair or, you know, you may have financial issues, whatever your reality is, you have to accept it. And you really can't change anything until you accept your reality. And that's, in my opinion anyway, that's the first step to, you know, living a better life, changing and living the life that you absolutely want to live. Um, and I think that, I feel like what you're doing is very important. Because I know, and as I said in the beginning, you know, after speaking with you, I got off the phone with you and I went and talked to someone. I said, you wouldn't believe I talked to this guy who's in a wheelchair. And, you know, and I referred to being in a wheelchair as a limitation, and he corrected me. He didn't see it as a limitation. And he's doing this and he's doing that. And I feel like I should be doing more. I should be living better. And I think that's a responsibility that, you know, everyone has, is to, you know, live your life in a way that you can improve other people's lives. Do you see that as a responsibility for yourself?
I do, because, you know, the same struggles I went through and overcame is the same struggles someone else is going through. And even though I had the strength to overcome mine, someone else might need that push. So it's, you know, if you can make it out, then you help someone else make it out. You know, because if you get there alone, then you're alone. You know, while you watching everyone else still suffer. And that's not the type of person I am. I'm never being, because I went through so many struggles.